What's up, everybody? What's up, what's up, what's up? How's everybody doing? How's everybody doing? Oh, man, you guys doing good? What's up, VIPs? What's up, backstagers? How are y'all? Y'all doing well? Thank you. Bring me some energy. Turn your cameras on. David, Crescenda, Sam, Jackie, I better see you today. Quit hiding. Andrea, Brenda, Samantha, Corbin. Wow, do we have a treat for you today. I want to say something to you. If today is your first day, it's okay. Every day is a standalone day here on the platform tour. You don't have to have been here Tuesday and Monday. We've built this tour in a way, it was supposed to be in 7 cities, 8 cities over the course of 10 days. And we just made a decision as an organization to not do that this year, just with everything going on in our world. And when we had built it on the cities, we said, let's make every day a standalone day. So the person who's here all 7 days is going to benefit greatly. But if somebody only comes for 1 day or 2 days or 3 days or 4 days, I want to make sure that what they get out of that day is profound. And so if this is your first day, welcome. If it's your second day, welcome. If it's your third day, welcome. You are in for a treat. How many days have you been here? Facebook, light it up. Instagram, light it up. YouTube, light it up. Everywhere, light it up. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. How many days have you been here? Let me see. All three, all three, all three, all three. You're in for a treat today. You are in for a treat. So welcome. The first 3 or 4 minutes, I want to make sure and do some of the housekeeping so everybody's reminded. Good to see you, Wall. I see you. Good to see you, Barbara and Tracy and Brian. Good to see you, Carol and Ginger and Barbara. It's awesome. Great to see. Look at all these beautiful faces right here. We've got thousands of VIPs and backstagers. So welcome, welcome, welcome to all of our VIPs and all of our backstagers. Let me see you. Let me see you. Come on. Hey, control that microphone. I need you controlling that microphone and building your platform and building your platform. Look at that. Look at my team right here. Can we get that shot again? Platform tour. We got the platform tour right here, Rug, and I'm excited about today. So a couple of things, if we can get the slides up, guys, a couple of things that I want to make sure that you guys understand is we're starting every day at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the live stream and engagement will happen on our Facebook group. If you're not in, I know we have lots of our speakers streaming this into their groups and on their Instagram pages and in their YouTube channels. Like, this is everywhere. The reach of this week is millions of people. Tens of thousands of people registered, but the reach is millions. Hundreds of thousands of people will be watching this week, at least one of the days. Now, I'm going to call Kat out. Kat, it's platformcommunity.com. Platformcommunity.com will redirect you to our Facebook page. So if you're watching on some other place and you're not on one of the Advance Your Reach Facebook pages today, at the very end, when Sara Blakely is our final speaker today, we are bringing you multiple billionaires this week who have built a platform starting with very little. Today, when Sara goes, we will only be streaming this on our pages. It's one of the few days that we'll be pulling it off of all of the other pages. So by the end today, make sure that you come over to platformcommunity.com and it'll redirect you right into our Facebook group. I love that we have our Spanish-speaking Zoom room. We have our Spanish-speaking page. That's on there as well. And so at the end today, we've got some incredible, we've got an Apple TV 4K that we're giving away and several platform building strategy sessions, one-on-one coaching sessions today that we're giving away for yesterday's winners of sharing your story. How many people shared their story in the Facebook group yesterday? You did, Scott? You did? Okay, good. Arvella did, okay. Wall, you didn't. Jasper, did you? Olive did. Denarije, I might have said it wrong, but I took a shot at it. Nancy did, okay. We're going to be recognizing several of you that shared your story as stories that inspired my team. And today, we've got another homework assignment. These homework assignments move you one step closer to building your platform, so stick around for that. Hey, listen, my team did this. I love this. Will you share this video to your feed right now? Share the video. All you have to do is push the button, share, down there, right now here in the Facebook group or wherever you're at, and then you say, share now to friends. Share now to friends. That's it. Share, and share it to your friends. Tag a friend right now. Tell them they got to be a part of the platform tour. We still have Sara Blakely, Grant Cardone, Damon John, Trent Shelton, Stormy Wellington, Tim Tebow, Bethany Hamilton, Gloria Mayfield Banks. Like the list goes on and on. We're only a little bit of the way. We're not even at the halftime mark of the days. So let people know in the comments and let them know by sharing this. Cool? Cool, cool, cool? Awesome. And I just want to say this. I've said this. Last year, we did Rise Up World. And we had 150,000 people in Rise Up World. This year, we have more VIPs, more reach, and we believe we're going to raise more money for charity than we ever have before, even last year. Last year, we raised $750,000. I was able to present Sara Blakely and the Red Backpack Fund a check for $350,000, just this one charity. And we launched 150 women businesses last year. We did. And this is what we did last year. But this year, what I want you to know is this experience of the platform tour, both in English and Spanish, it's unbelievable. We've only about of the a seventh or eighth through these speakers. That this year, it's all about helping you build your platforms. And like I said, this is streaming everywhere. It's the biggest thing that we have ever done. The biggest thing that we have ever done. And I want you to see this. Like, I want to make sure they see this. This, we believe, is combined to impact millions of people this year. Millions of people. And I have a big goal. And I need your help. If you've done gold, silver, or bronze, just write it in the chat. But all of the profits of this go back to these charities. And how many of you think I might just give to another charity throughout the course of this week? Anybody think I'll give to some more charities? Yeah, I'm believing in you. I'm believing that you're going to take the concepts that these speakers teach you, implement them, build your platform, make a difference in this world. But I'm also believing in you helping me get to the goal of raising over $1 million. Put $1 million in the chat right now, because that's what we're going to give back to these charities. This charity helping with sex trafficking. This charity helping with underprivileged kids. This charity helping with kids who are facing mental crisis. Teen suicide rate. Elementary suicide rate is at an all-time high. This charity helping the homeless. This charity building one of the biggest platforms for minority small business owners in the United States that we funded $250,000 of it last year, and it's impacted 1 million people. This charity helping parents that are kids who have lost their father to prison or to death. This charity helping underserved kids and the homeless. That's what we're fighting for. We're fighting for you to build your platform, and we're fighting to raise these platforms up. So this is what I want to say. Platform is a raised or elevated surface. This is my definition on which people or things can take a stand. A place where your message, your impact, and your income is amplified for a purpose greater than yourself. Your message matters. This is one of my favorite shirts that I wear. Your message matters. Yesterday, as I was preparing, Tim Tebow, successful philanthropist, entrepreneur, and professional athlete, I was preparing for our interview on Sunday. He's going to be here Sunday with Bethany Hamilton. And my wife, I went up to dinner. She said, "What's wrong?" I said, as I was preparing for Tim's questions that I wanted to ask him, his message and his story made me weep many times. This was last night. Made me weep many times. I said, I'm so glad that this man has built a platform. He has taken a stand for the message that's in his heart. And because of that, he's impacting the world. And I'm not asking you to impact the world. I'm asking you to impact your world. And I was in tears at dinner sharing Tim Tebow's story, most of it which none of us even know. And I went back down, and his right-hand person, she's an amazing lady. She said, these are the most thought-provoking, powerful questions that I've seen anybody articulate. I said, it's because I dove into Tim's message, and it rocked my world, and I can't wait on Sunday to have him. But I can't wait for not just every speaker who's delivering their message, us going behind the scenes of their platforms, of how they built it. We're going behind the scenes of their platforms so we can help you build your platform. Because we want you to build your platform so that you can control the microphone and change our world. And change our world. So listen, we're not rookies at this. Over the course of the last 2 decades, we're responsible for our clients. We've worked with some of the biggest names, and we're responsible for our clients generating close to $1 billion in revenues and impacting hundreds of millions of people. And all week long, all of the speakers are speaking into these 6 pillars. You cannot build a platform with one pillar. You need all 6 of these pillars. And every day, we have made a commitment to have a speaker speak into what they have done in these pillars. Every day, one of our speakers will speak to all 6 of these pillars, a different strategy every day within all 6 of these pillars that will help you understand how to build your platform. You can't build it with one thing. You need multiple pillars to uphold the message that you are taking out into this world. And if we don't focus on the foundation is you. Guys, I need the foundation is you. It's you. So on Monday, we have a bonus day. And the bonus day is all about you, your productivity, your mindset, your emotions, your excuses, like getting you taken care of and nurtured. Monday through Sunday, 6 pillars. Monday the 18th coming up, all about you. 11 of the most powerful speakers will be here on Monday. And so I want to make sure you understand what these speakers are here and called to do. What they're here and called to do. Now listen, here's the cool thing. Today, you've got Rory Vaden, who's going to be speaking in the clarity bucket. You've got Sage Levine that's going to be speaking in the stages bucket. I'm going to be speaking in the communications and products bucket. Lee Dumas is going to share with you how to build a podcast and how to get on other people's podcasts in the stages bucket. Taylor Welch is going to be here today to speak in the revenues bucket. And Sara Blakely will be here to speak not just in the revenues and the scale bucket, but she will probably address all 6 pillars as most of our celebrity speakers have done the last few days. That is the day we have in hand. I'm excited about our first speaker. He's going to talk about the importance of a personal brand. He's going to hit on this today, and Damon John will hit on it on Friday and pick up where Rory leaves off today. I'm so excited to bring to the platform tour the one and only Mr. Rory Vaden. Give it up for Rory on all social channels, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Backstage, everywhere. Give it up for Rory. Rory, I'm so glad to have you here today, bro, on the platform tour.
Man, Pete, it's good to be with you, brother. Thank you so much for the invitation. And on the topic of clarity, I just wanted to share right away that the single best piece of personal branding advice, like for building your platform and just sort of like getting your message out there, like you're saying, your message matters. I learned from a gentleman named Larry Winget, and this isn't a Rory Vaden quote, but When I heard this, it changed my life. And Larry said this. He said, the goal is to find your uniqueness so that you can exploit it in the service of others. Find your uniqueness so that you can exploit it in the service of others. And I thought that was so brilliant. And I think that that's what we're all here to do, right? And that's what having a platform is all about. I think, Pete, you've done a fantastic job of that. And obviously, using your personal brand to do what we're all doing here as a team, raising money for charity and these things that matter. That's what it's about. Like, your personal brand is not about you. It's about using yourself in the service of other people. And so as part of being here on Platform Tour, Pete's been a longtime friend of ours. We wanted to share with you a very first look at something that our team has been working on for over a year. Actually, my business partner, who is my wife, AJ, she led basically a year-long research project with some PhDs in this independent research firm to really study the data about how much does having a personal brand matter, and what does it mean to have a personal brand, and what are the things that you can do tactically with your brand that will directly attach to revenue. Because if you have that clarity about what you should talk about and how you should present yourself, it's going to obviously lead to more money. And so Pete and team was generous enough to give me some time here to share these with you, and I'm ecstatic about it. And so I'm just going to share with you really like 3 key data points that you can bank on as it relates to your personal brand. And this is an opinion. This is fact. This is weighted here. I'll go ahead and pop this up so that you can see. But just a little bit of the methodology for those of you that are maybe a little more nerdy like me. This is weighted to the U.S. Census. So it's a statistically valid sample of the entire U.S. population, regardless of age and gender and ethnicity and things like that. I won't spend too much time on this, but just kind of know that technically this is not an international study. This is a U.S. study. And the very first thing that we looked at, because is what is a personal brand, and does it matter? Like, this whole week you're learning about a platform and how to build one. And I think you're probably here, right? Because intuitively there's something inside of you that says, I've got this message that I want to share. I feel called to build a business or a side hustle, or maybe it's to write a book or to speak or host a YouTube show or podcast. But there's whatever that is, there's something in you that is like this prompting, this nudging, and we want to help you draw that out. And but the question is, like, does it really matter, and does it really affect your business? And so that's kind of like why we did this study. And the very first data point that we found that was one of the key points is this: that 74% of Americans, of all Americans, 74% of them say they are more likely to trust someone who has an established personal brand. See, for me, I think a lot of times we confuse having a platform or having a personal brand with like vanity or fame or making us feel good about ourselves. And it's not about that at all. It's about the mission. It's about the message. It's about the people that you're trying to serve. And ultimately, your ability to serve them is dependent upon how much they trust you. And so having a platform and doing this is about trust. It is a fundamentally human experience. And so, things like social media and the various tools of the day to get your message out there, this is about the human experience. And the data now proves this, and this is actually going to trend higher in the future. So one of the things that we do is we stratify the data that we collect by generation. So as I told you, 74% of all Americans say they're more likely to trust someone who has an established personal brand. But baby boomers, who right now are ages 57 to 65, and Gen X, they are lowering that number. if you look at older millennials, like this is where we're going in the next 20 years, this number is going to trend towards 85%. And then it's going to level out more like around 80%, which is massive, right? Like this is about trust. And so when you think personal branding or you think building a platform, you might think, oh, this is new. It's social media, it's funnels, it's a YouTube channel, it's a podcast, it's, you know, an ebook or a video course, or it, whatever it is. A lot of people think of this as new concept and like new skills. And there are some new skills that you need to learn in order to do this effectively. We certainly have had to learn them over the course of our career. We built a company to 8 figures. We sold it a couple of years ago. We've had a few books on the New York Times bestseller list and helped clients do the same thing. And we've had to learn some of this ourselves. But even though those are new skills, the concept here is much more fundamental. And you don't need to be intimidated by building a personal brand or building a platform, because all it is a simply personal branding is simply the digitization of reputation. The digitization of reputation. It's the same construct or paradigm of building trust. And do people like you? Do they feel like they know you? And can they trust you? And this matters not, by the way, just for people who are like influencer types. One of the questions that we asked is, you know, is it more important for like, you know, your life coach or your business consultant to have a personal brand, or more like a doctor or a lawyer or your employer? And it turns out that 61% of Americans believe their doctor should have an established personal brand, which is even more than, you know, the online influencer type people they follow. They want their lawyers to have personal brands. They want their financial advisors, their bankers. And this is super powerful because it leads, the data draws a very clear conclusion here, that the higher the requirement for trust, the more important it is to have a personal brand. The higher the requirement for trust, the more important it is to have a personal brand. And you might say, okay, so how do I build that trust? Well, it's pretty simple, really. We trust people, first of all, that we see, right? That's why we trust celebrities. If you think of actors, it's kind of funny because most of us trust these people. We don't even know what their real name is. I mean, a lot of them make a living full time pretending to be somebody that they're not, but we trust them because we see them. So you have to be seen. You have to be visible. People, the more frequently they see you, the more they trust you. If we see somebody walking down a dark alley that we recognize, we're not scared. But if we're in a dark alley and there's somebody walking towards us and we don't know who it is, we don't recognize them, then we probably don't trust them. We're nervous about that. Well, with your personal brand, with your platform, how do you build trust? It's pretty simple. One of the strategies that, we think that pretty much everyone falls into one of the 3 E's. The content that you put out either needs to be entertaining, encouraging, or educational. Entertaining, encouraging, or educational. It's that simple. And if you're not that entertaining, which I don't consider myself super entertaining, then you try to be encouraging, but maybe you're more educational. You know, if you're a lawyer or you're an accountant or you're a chiropractor, no one's expecting you to make funny cat videos. Just teach us what you know. Teach us things that are useful. Be useful to us, and we'll follow you. We'll like you. We'll comment. We'll share. We'll engage. And ultimately, either we will hire you or we will recommend you to someone that we know, because this is about trust. And if you can encourage me, entertain me, or educate me, and I see you, I am going to trust you, which is what the personal brand is all about. Now, another thing that we started to look at here with the data was, what is the role of a personal brand on a company? And this starts to get super fascinating. So if you go, well, does all this stuff actually translate to money? We asked that question. And what we found is that 2/3 of Americans on the whole, so 67% of Americans say they would be willing to spend more money on products and services that come from the companies whose founder's personal brand aligns with their own personal values. Now, again, if you look at older millennials, like this is the future right here. This is actually going to trend towards 80% in the future. Right now, it's 67%, which means that people are spending more money because they like you. They know who you are. They know what you do. In fact, people don't buy what you do. They don't just buy what you do. They buy who you are. People don't buy what you do. They buy who you are. And like for me, there was a time where it didn't make sense to me, because I was like, why would anybody care about seeing pictures of like my kids, or want to see like where I live or what I'm eating? I thought that was so stupid. But then if you think about it, and here's what I want you to do in the chat. Type into the chat, who is your biggest like celebrity or business crush? Like, who is someone that if they walked through your door right now, you would freak out? Like, you would lose your mind. You'd be so like ecstatic that they were there. And just type that into the chat right now. I think it's fascinating to see what people say. Now, for me, it would be The Rock. Like, if The Rock came in, I mean, I would fangirl. I would hit the floor. I'd lose my mind. I just think The Rock is so cool and funny, and all these things. So whoever the person is for you, what I want you to think about is, let's say I gave you the opportunity and I said you could be with that person for an entire day. You could be standing right next to their bed right when they woke up, which would be a little bit creepy, but you could be with them from the moment they woke up until the moment they fell back asleep. You could hear who they talked to on the phone. You could go in every single meeting. You could see what they eat. You could see what they wear, where they live, who they talk to, but you're not allowed to talk to them. And my question is, for that person, would that be exciting for you? Would you do it even though you couldn't talk to them? My guess is, I mean, type into the chat if you say yes, but like for me, mine is definitely like, if I got to spend a day with The Rock, even if I couldn't talk to him, I'd be just curious, like, how much does he eat? Like, how long does he work out? And what is his closet like? And who does he take meetings with? That's because people don't buy just what you do. They buy who you are. And the data shows this. My wife used to buy a certain brand of athletic clothing. It's called Lululemon. And then she found out there was a company called Athleta, which was had a female founder that was very socially conscious. And now my wife buys Athleta because her personal values align with the personal values of the founder. And so she changed her spending habits. People will do the same with you because this is about trust. It is about human connection. It is about value. And it's not about vanity and followers and metrics that don't mean anything. It's about humans doing business with other humans. Now, one of the other things in terms of the data that is we wanted to know, what are some practical things that you can do that will actually influence people buying from you? And as you think about building your platform, right, you're going to meet all these people. There's several of us that are New York Times bestselling authors and people who are major business tycoons. Obviously, Sarah is going to be here later today, and these celebrity athletes and stuff that are a part of this platform tour that Pete and his team have put together for you. But what really causes your fans and your followers to buy? I was curious about this, right? Like I have a TED Talk that went viral. It's got like 4 million views. And I go, I wonder if people buy because of that or because of books. But I don't have like a huge social media following. I don't have a huge YouTube channel. I don't have a huge podcast. And some of our clients have some of those things and not others. And so we wanted to look at that question. And so we asked consumers, what are the things that influence you to buy? And we actually gave them a list of things to choose from. It had things like you have a podcast, you have a New York Times best-selling book, a Wall Street Journal best-selling book, you've got YouTube videos, you have high engagement on social media, you have a nice website, and none of those things were the top. Look at how low having a New York Times best-selling book is the same to the average person in the public. Having a New York Times best-selling book is like no different from having a podcast, which anybody can do. But the number one thing that matters to people, 62%, at least, again, this is, we didn't have the resources to study the whole world, but in America, which we think, the trends would be similar in other international locations, but 62% of Americans say having testimonials is the single most important factor when deciding who people are going to purchase from. And this is amazing because so many of us get consumed with like, how many followers do I have? And are my platforms growing? And am I reaching more people? And there's nothing wrong with that, right? We all want to make more impact. Like if you are called to make an impact, that includes reaching more people. But when it comes to making money, what the data suggests is actually kind of a different story. What the data tells us is that your next customer won't come from having more new followers as much it will come from over delivering with your current customer. Your next customer will come from over delivering with your current customer. And that is just something that all of us can do. You don't have to have millions of followers. If you have one customer or if you have one relationship in your life, if you can add value, or one follower, like if you can add value to that person's life, it snowballs into more and more and more. If you're focused on adding value to their life, if you're focused on being trustworthy, if you're consumed not with who am I and let me tell you how amazing I am and how brilliant I am, but how can I be useful and supportive to you? Now, I'll tell you this, if there's one shortcut that we have learned from helping people find their uniqueness, right? I shared that quote with you earlier, find your uniqueness and exploit it in the service of others. And you might be saying, how do I find my uniqueness? Well, it's difficult to answer this for thousands of people all at once. You typically have to go through a process to develop that clarity. But I'm going to teach you a shortcut here that we have seen now after working with lots and lots of people through this. And it is this. You are always most powerfully positioned to serve the person you once were. You're most powerfully positioned to serve the person that you once were. If you go follow me on whatever, Instagram or social media or like whatever is your platform, you'll see that I put out content that is teaching people how to do things that my wife and I and our team have done like over the last 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 years. We're very powerfully positioned to talk about that because we have walked down that road and you are too. And not only does it give you credibility, it gives you passion. People ask the wrong question. People ask the question, what is my purpose? And I think a better question to ask is not what is my purpose, but who am I meant to serve? If you think about who you're meant to serve, you will find your purpose faster. And you will build a bond with them that is personal, that is intimate. You will establish trust. They will trust you because you're speaking from a place of experience and you're speaking from a place of passion and truth and connectedness because you've actually walked down the road that they are walking down. And, if there's one fear you may have, over the rest of this week, you're going to be learning from a lot of amazing people. You already have learned from some amazing people, and you might just have a little fear to go, you know what? I just don't know if I could build a platform. I don't know if I'm smart enough. I'm not sure I have the money to. I'm not sure I have the time to. But all of those fears and all of those self-doubts will only happen when you're thinking about yourself. Fear is so self-centered. You never feel fear when the mission to serve is clear. And I'm telling you that there is somebody out there right now who is begging for, they are desperate to find answers to questions that you already know the answers to. They are seeking for someone to help them solve the challenges that you've already walked down. They literally could be on their hands and knees begging for help that you could give them, and you wouldn't even have to think about it. And those people, they need you way more than you need them. And the calling that you feel on your heart, we believe, is the result of a signal being sent out by someone who needs you more than you need them. So stay plugged in here to the platform tour, build your platform, learn from the people, learn from Pete, and go out and find that person who needs you more than you need them. Back to you, Pete.
Rory, thank you, man. What an amazing, guys. Hey, give it up for Rory. Look at the backstage. Look at our VIPs backstage. I'm so proud of you backstage. There's like thousands of you that have contributed back. Listen, I looked at his presentation last night. I paid attention to his presentation last night, and what he talked about is huge. Like, really, your uniqueness in this world. Like, there is not another person that has your DNA, and there's also not another person on this earth that has the experiences of life that you have. I know experiences that Rory and his beautiful wife have walked through. Nobody else has those experiences. And it's the reason why he can serve even more powerful right now, because of his past. And he can shorten the curve for so many people. And so I want you guys to know, Rory will be back within Platform Tour. He's one of the speakers that I've asked to come back here in the next couple months, but I wanted him here today. Rory, thank you for being here today, man. I appreciate it so much. Give some love to Rory, guys. Give some love to Rory. So, hey, this is what I'm doing. First audible, Kat. First audible, Shelia. This is what I'm doing. I see people in Gloria Mayfield Banks' Facebook page. Gloria Mayfield said, I'm streaming this all week to my Facebook page. She's one of many speakers who are doing this. Because where do you get $3 million worth of value? That's how much these speakers would cost, about $3 million. If I said, let's get them all into your house. Write me a check for $3 million. And how many of you would do that? Yeah, I didn't think so. If I had it, no, that's not what I asked you. How many would do it? But Gloria said $3 million of speakers, I want them sharing with my people. Gloria Mayfield Banks' group has more shares today than our platform community group has right now. More people are sharing it with the world right now than within this group. I just went and looked at it. So here's what I'm going to do. You guys know that from October 11th to October 18th is the tour. The 11th through 17th, we're going through the strategies. On October 18th, it's a bonus day, and we're focusing on you, your mind, your heart, your relationships, your breakthroughs. But here's the thing, on the 19th, we are focused. I'm going to recap the entire platform tour. By the way, the 18th, there won't be recordings because it's a bonus day. The 19th, I'm going to recap the entire platform tour in 90 minutes or less. The entire thing. I'm going to give you all 40 nuggets in 90 minutes. Kat and Shelia, I'm also going to give out $50,000 worth of prizes that day as well. Workshops, coaching sessions, and one-on-one stuff. Like we have $10,000 workshops. I'm going to be giving out several of those. I will give out $50,000 of prizes on Tuesday, October 19th. How do you become eligible? We're going to pay attention to who's sharing this, who's tagging people, and who's showing up live. If you share this with your communities, you tag a lot of people, you tag us and let us see the post that you're putting out there, and you show up live, that's how you're going to be eligible for this. The other thing that I've made a decision to do is at midnight every day, we're going to pull down the recordings because we want people here live. We don't want you to try to stack all of these. The people who bought the recordings, don't worry, you'll get them a few weeks after the event. But a few weeks, like you need it right now. So we're going to be beginning to pull each day's recordings down at midnight. That gives people the time to watch it if they're working, but we're pulling down the recordings. I'm encouraging you, share it, post it, and be here live. And those things will allow us to make a decision next Tuesday. We will give out $50,000 of prizes on Tuesday as we recap all 8 days in 90 minutes. All 8 days in 90 minutes. So there you go. That's an audible. That's throwing it out. I want to bring up our next guest. I'm so excited to have her here with us today. She is phenomenal. Let's get the slides back up. She's powerful. And I want to bring her up here. And Sage Levine is a beautiful woman, a huge heart. She has built an incredible movement helping women monetize their message. She has built a Facebook group that's very powerful. When you build your own groups, they become your own stages. And I'm so excited to welcome my friend to Platform Tour. Would y'all give some love for Sage? Give some love for Sage. Give some love. Give her some love, Sage. I'm going to let you take it away.
Hello, everyone. Oh my gosh, you're here. What an honor, Pete. What an incredible event you've put together. I invite every single one of you to reach your hand up over your head and pat yourself on the back. I'm actually coming to you live from a hotel in Palm Springs. And when my team found out that I was going to be doing this speaking gig from a hotel in Palm Springs, I just had breakfast with Reed Tracy. He's the CEO of Hay House Publishing. He's giving me advice on how to actually do the second launch of my book. I'm so excited to share with you guys some tips on how to grow your platform, how to really launch a message into the world. I can't believe I've grown our Facebook group to over 50,000 active people, and we've actually done 7 seven-figure launches out of that Facebook group. So I'm just so honored to be able to be here to share with every single one of you so you can get out there, make an impact, great income. My team actually found out I was going to be doing this from the hotel. They made me a 20-second video so you guys could see some of the things that we've been up to. So I invite you to stand up, reach your arms up overhead. We're going to stream some music that's totally safe for Facebook. It's royalty free, but get a little groove on, make a little psychic space for some more learning because I can't wait to dive in. We'll stream the video. Okay, so that just makes me happy, right? Because I used to be a school teacher from Iowa, and I'm guessing some of you might be here because you're in some kind of a career transition. You're wanting to get your message out in a bigger way. You're wanting to actually reach more people on the internet. And I used to be a school teacher from Iowa making $28,000 a year. And I was like the least likely candidate to be running this big training company. Now, if you are here because you want to lead a virtual event like Pete, or you want to grow an online community full of clients or customers, you just want to actually like make a bigger difference, just pop yes into the chat. Can I just have a yes and uh-huh? And can we give some love to Pete Vargas for bringing together like millions of dollars worth of training and some of the best speakers? I've been tuning in. I literally was on the plane yesterday flying here. I was watching, Jesse Etzler talk about leading with generosity and watching Pete talk about all of the incredible things you're learning. So I'm just curious for every single one of you, how many of you are here because you don't just want to find people online, you don't just want to make more money, but you also realize that we're living on a time that's critical on the planet, that we get our message out, that gone are the days of the guru, right? Gone are the days of one human being that we can follow and get all the answers from. Now it's like, gee, you are you, guru. Like you are the one that we've been waiting for. And like I said, I come from a long line of school teachers. I didn't know about technology. I didn't know about social media. I didn't really know about sales or marketing. In fact, my mom was so like anti-sales that when I was a little girl, she didn't want me to sell Girl Scout cookies because she was afraid I would offend the neighbors. So if you're wondering, like, am I really cut out for this? Whoa, this is a lot of information. I don't know if I'm up to speed. I just want to let you know that if I can do this and transition from being a school teacher to running a multi-million-dollar company and reaching hundreds of thousands of people and raising almost $1 million for philanthropic causes. If I can figure out how to do this, so can you. I'm super thrilled to really help you understand what you have inside of you. Because just like Rory said, you have something inside of you that nobody else has. You've been through a set of life circumstances. It's almost like your life has been a PhD program preparing you for this very moment. Take a breath into that. And that there's no accident you're here, that you signed up for the platform tour with Pete Vargas. And I hope you're considering also studying more with Pete, because there's no one better suited to take you where you want to go. So I actually want to share a little bit about how I was able to launch my business into the world and really inspire you and teach you some of the tools. So first of all, as I was leaving school teaching, I knew that there was something bigger coming through me. Do you guys know that feeling of like your skin feeling hot and like the universe tapping you on the shoulder, like telling you there's something else wanting to happen through you? Are you picking up what I'm laying down? Will you just type a yes into the chat thread if like you've ever had that? I was terrified. I didn't know what I was supposed to do, but I moved away from school teaching and I started teaching women to get clear on what they wanted to do with their life, because I had a whole decade of experience in the women's leadership field. And I started helping women really get clear on their next career chapter. My favorite clients, y'all, my favorite, I was literally working for like $50 an hour, $100 an hour, like whatever somebody would pay me. But my favorite clients were all starting businesses. So I started doing business trainings. And I walked into some of these trainings and I was not finding something like what Pete Vargas has put together. I was finding business trainings that were very pushy. It was all about converting a sale, convert, making a deal, closing a sale, converting a lead. And I started thinking to myself, there can be another way. Instead of closing a sale, what if we were like opening relationships? What if we actually built businesses that were collaborative rather than competitive? And so I started teaching some of these basic business principles that were a little bit less pushy. And I found that not only did women love these, but so did men. So if you're a man who's here that's resonating with a more generosity-based approach, what I'm about ready to share with you will totally work for you. And then I got on Facebook, and you guys, I actually launched a Facebook group 2 years ago that has led to me being able to host over, at least seven-figure launches. I'm super thrilled to just brag about our most recent event. It looks a lot like the event that Pete is putting on right now. I got to see over 1,000 women's faces on Zoom at once, change lives, do a really cool fundraiser for girls in Uganda. This is what my stage looked like before I went virtual. We had over 500 women coming to our conferences at a time. And what I've found is that the most effective way to actually fill my events and get my message out into the world has been with Facebook, which is really ironic, you guys, because I used to, don't tell anybody, but I never used to like Facebook. But there's no other platform that's actually going to allow you to get your message out with zero ad spend. We started out doing total organic reach on Facebook. And I want to just share with you a few of these hacks. Okay. So first of all, if you guys don't have a Facebook group, I highly recommend you consider launching a Facebook group, because Facebook doesn't want to be known as an advertising site. They want to be known as a social site. So what you do inside of a Facebook group is going to rank higher in people's feeds. Okay. I also invite you to realize that most of your clients are on Facebook. Now, if you serve millennials, they're on Instagram, right? So you can take everything that I'm sharing here and you can translate it. You can do pretty much the same stuff on Instagram. But here's the thing, is that when you're on camera on Facebook, especially doing Facebook Live, Facebook is actually building you a real-time audience. Okay, one of the things that my publisher said to me, you guys probably have heard of Hay House Publishing. When I asked Hay House what to do to get the word out about my book, you guys, they said, run, don't walk toward Facebook Live. You got to do live video, because live video is actually going to rank higher in everybody's feed. And as soon as you go live, social media is going to be gathering you a live audience. They want your video in front of people. So, you know, that never used to exist. We've got to take advantage of this, and it's totally free. I've learned something called gamification, which builds engagement. It builds trust. I'm going to talk more about that in a moment. But here's the thing, when you gamify, when you create games with your ideal clients and customers, when you create connection, just like you see Pete doing here, he's like, hey, y'all, why don't share this incredible free training that you're a part of? And by the way, I'm going to be giving out some incentives to do that, right? What Pete's doing, by the way, is worth studying. He's freaking brilliant. And what that creates is connection, right? And connection is currency. And to make time for those Q&A calls, to make time for people to ask questions on the chat, to create that intimacy with your audience. I want to talk a little bit about gamification, because gamification, write this down if you haven't heard this word. I haven't caught every single section of this, every single session of this platform tour, so you might have already heard a little bit about this, but I'm really seeing gamification as being a big part of the future of digital marketing, because content is a dime a dozen these days. You've got to learn how to actually engage people. And so here's a picture of our Facebook group. It's the Women Rocking Business Sisterhood. Don't worry if you're an awesome man on this training. These tools are going to work for you too. They don't just work for the women, but you guys can see that I've grown this group in just over 2 years to over 50,000 active members. And we're able to promote the things that we're doing in this group. And recently we started doing these visibility video challenges where women actually make a video into the group. Now I'm about ready to give you guys, I'm about ready to lay down some super cool hacks. So pay attention to what I'm about to say. When we give out these assignments, go make a video, put a video in the group, go live in the group, you don't get a chance to be eligible to win the big prize. And there's always a big prize. You're not eligible to win the big prize unless you actually engage your community and you acknowledge them, give them feedback. So the rule is that for every one video you post, you're loving up, you're giving feedback to 3 of your community members or 5 of your community members. And what happens, you guys, is that engagement goes through the roof. Check out these. I don't know if you guys can see the number of comments, but like for these 2 women, these were the first videos they had ever gotten the courage up to make online. And you can see that all the videos in the group are getting 50, 60, 70, 80 comments where people are just loving them up. And can you imagine what happens to their confidence, right? Their confidence goes through the roof. And what happens is that they have an instant feeling of being seen and belonging. And Brené Brown says that belonging is the biggest driver of human behavior. And can we just tune into that for a minute, right? Many of us know deep down that's just true. And so let's just imagine for a minute that you serve families or parents, or you have a nonprofit, or you're a doctor who serves families. Well, what if you were to engage your audience and have them post a picture of their family? Maybe your audience isn't ready to like go live and make a video yet, right? My audience is entrepreneurs, so they're ready to make a video. But what if you had your audience post a picture of their families and then comment on each other's pictures and love each other up? Imagine the feeling of belonging that people start to have then online. And this is a much more engaged platform than just you popping out some content every once in a while. Are you guys getting this? Are you smelling what I'm stepping in, right? This is about building your platform, not in a way where you just have more numbers of people that have subscribed, but like Rory said, actually engaged people. It's actually not as much about quantity, you guys, as it is about quality. How engaged are they? So what happened for us is that we chose a winner from the video contest, who is this incredible woman leader from Egypt. And she was going into some of the most rural parts of the Middle East, educating women on their rights, helping women escape from abusive marriages. We chose her video. You can see her here, Laila Mustafa, her beautiful small 1-year-old son is in her arms. We flew her over from Egypt to one of our live events in California, and there was not a dry eye in the house. Our engagement was through the roof. We got a chance to train Lila to reach even more women. She quadrupled her reach that year by learning our skills, and it was such a beautiful alliance to make with a woman leader on the other side of the world, and that all happened through gamification. I also, because my audience had then gotten so engaged and so much bigger, was able to engage some of my heroes and sheroes like Michael Beckwith, Lisa Nichols, Derek Rydell. I did a series of interviews that year that quadrupled my list. And so it really allowed me to grow my influence and my network. And what I really want to share is that this is not just about reaching more people. It's not just about your numbers growing. It's about making the difference that you came here to make, fulfilling on the promise that your soul made when you came in. You know, for many of you, you've joined a platform tour because you are now willing to play just a little bigger. And so rather than thinking we need some magic bullet to get us to the top of the mountain, I invite you to start right where you are, right here, right now. Trust the instinct that you have to go all in, to be willing to learn these tools, to invest in yourself, and to get yourself into the place in your career where you feel lit up and on top of life every day. Like, you can see it in Pete, man. He can't wait. He's been texting me about this tour for weeks, you guys. All he can think about is you and making a difference for you. And like I said, this started happening years ago when I was a school teacher. I had a dream, actually, when I was 16 years old at summer camp, that I was in a circle of women down on the beach, and we were somehow like changing the world together. And so check it out, you guys. In 2012, I had my very first business training. And halfway through the business training, we went down on the beach and we held hands in a circle, like total kumbaya moment, right? And we locked in our visions. 90% of those women went on to make tens of thousands of dollars in their businesses. And so as I've been fulfilling on my mission, right, in 2013, we had double the amount of people that were there in 2012, and we had over 100 women come to our business training. In 2014, we had over 200 women as my platform was growing. In 2015, I had over 300 women. In 2016, it was really stormy, but I had nearly 500 women from all over the world, 23, I think, different countries. In 2017, we did the event, but it was so stormy that it rained and we could not go out and do the circle. In 2018, I had my first circle down the street from my house that I had just purchased a home in 2018 in Santa Cruz, California. I'm a surfer. I love the beach. I decided I wasn't living in Iowa anymore. I moved to my dream home. We did our circle literally down the street from where I then lived. In 2019, we did our second beach circle in Santa Cruz. I was on the front page of the paper. In 2020, you guys know what happened. I had an event of over 700 women that were meant to fly in from all over the world. And true story, you guys, our event was supposed to be March 17th through the 19th of 2020. Well, on March 14th, you guys know what happened. The governor of California shut down live events. And so I did the entire event online. And we actually made more money online than we would have made had people come to the live conference hall. And my trust and faith in virtual events started to grow. And in 2021, then this is what it looked like, right? Bigger and bigger and bigger, over 1,000 women on the screen. And if I can do this, like I said, so can you. The key that I've found to really growing your online community is to make your message bigger. What do I mean by that? I mean to not just make your message about what you sell, but to make it bigger. Okay, so for me, women are getting paid 79 cents on the dollar compared to men. We're starting businesses nearly 50% more frequently than men, but when we do, our businesses are more likely to fail. I wanted to start a business where we flipped those numbers on their heads. At Women Rocking Business, I'm proud to say that instead of 80% of businesses failing, we have 80% of businesses succeeding. And my mission is to close the gender pay gap in my lifetime by empowering women to make more money. Now, men, hang with me because there's some really good stuff here for you guys. Hay House picked up my book. I didn't barely have a business. I had maybe 15, 20,000 people on my mailing list, relatively small. Hay House picked up my book, not because I was just another business coach, but because of how I was delivering my message. So pay attention to here because there's going to be some gold nuggets for you with your message. We are teaching business from a place of collaboration rather than competition, empowerment rather than power over, and business based in generosity like you see Pete doing. Because I've been teaching business that way, all these doors have opened, crazy big doors. I keynoted at Microsoft headquarters in front of 1,200 people, my TEDx talk. I was on Fox News last year. I got a chance to go to Uganda, raise over $100,000 to help prevent rape and violence. I took my team. I just got this in the mail a couple months ago. How cool is it to wake up to people on the other side of the world writing you a thank you note and taking a picture? So Women Rocking Business trains women to start businesses, you guys, but we are also closing the gender pay gap by empowering women to give themselves a big fat raise, right? So there's a social stand I'm taking, and I know that that is a huge part of the reason that Women Rocking Business has grown. We've doubled to quadrupled every year since I've been in business. And many of my colleagues that started businesses alongside me are not seeing anywhere near that kind of growth. There's an alignment here that I invite you to think about for your own message, for your own business. My client, Susan Pierce Thompson, she helps people get happy, thin, and free. She has a beautiful brand called Bright Line Eating. You might have heard of it, but she's also putting a stake in the ground to put an end to obesity and food addiction on the planet, right? When Susan was using these tools, you guys, we helped her add 100,000 people to our community. My client, Robin Nielsen, she helps women balance their hormones, but she's also going one step further. And I hope you have some aha moments going here, you guys, because she's actually going one step further. She wants to put an end to hormone imbalance and put an end to women having poor sleep just because they're in the middle of their lives. And we know that the women of this world now are on fire to make a difference. We can't be sleeping poorly. We got to get out there and live our lives. So my question for you is, how can you make your business bigger than what you're selling? And I invite you to pop your ideas into the chat. You know, if you serve families, maybe you're bringing harmony back to the family. Maybe you're restoring, right? You're restoring the container of the family. Maybe if you support people to, embrace proper nutrition, maybe you're actually starting to heal from some of the toxicity that exists in our culture. How do you put a stake in the ground that's bigger than just the thing you're selling? Because just like Rory said, people are not buying from you or investing in you or choosing you because of how hard you work. They're not investing in you because of the content that you're giving. They're investing in you because of a values alignment. They're investing in you because of what you believe in, because of the journey you've been on. And I love seeing these comments in the chat. They're going so fast. I can't actually see what's going on. But what I want to say to every single one of you is that message that is wanting to come through you. That is what's going to have you explode on the scene, grow an online community, grow your platform, and not just get in front of a few people, but make meaningful relationships that are going to result in our world being transformed and you making the kind of money that you want to make. I mean, you guys, I work 12 days a month. I take Fridays off. I take a week off every single month. Now, there were a couple months during the pandemic that I needed to work my booty off to get things back on track when I couldn't do my live events. But what I'm saying to you is that what you want is possible, and that your audience is out there waiting for you. They're not just waiting for someone like you, they're waiting for you. And when you get out there and you're willing to do it on your terms, to create a business, a livelihood that fits in your life, rather than having to have your life fit around an overly busy world, you can grow the platform, make the difference, write your own ticket, and then be the change that the world's asking for. So Pete, I'm going to go back to you in a minute, but I just want to acknowledge every single one of you for your commitment to clear your schedule for these days with Pete and with every single one of these speakers. You're in such good hands. And Pete, it's just such an honor to be here.
Sage, that's unbelievable. I just dropped you a text, so check that text. Guys, that's incredible. She gave you a bonus nugget. She gave you 2 nuggets. So what's the first nugget she gave you? And I was paying attention backstage. The first nugget has to do with stages. How she built a Facebook group. How she got people to engage in that Facebook group. How she actually had them interact and gamify it, which helps the algorithm for her showing up in their feed. She shows up in my feed since I've joined her Facebook group last week when I spoke. And it's constantly in my feed. Why? Because of the engagement in that Facebook group. So she gave you tricks on how to do that. But the second thing that she did is she helped you understand what's going to allow you to stand out when you communicate. Having a bigger message than just the normal. Losing weight, that's just a normal message. Everybody talks about losing weight. Helping women, it's just another normal message. Everybody talks about it. You have to elevate how you talk about your big, hairy, audacious goal in this world. Your big, hairy, audacious goal. Like, you have to talk about it bigger. And when you talk about it bigger, people find themselves in it. That's the piece that's huge. They find themselves in it. So Sage is going to be backstage with us. You're not going to want to miss it. Rory's going to be backstage with us, but I'm going to keep going. Give some love to Sage in the comments. Give some love to Sage in the comments. All right, guys, listen, this is what I'm going to do. How incredible. So we have Sage tackled communication and stages. Rory tackled clarity. I'm going to talk about products. And then we're going to have Lee Dumas talk about stages, Taylor Welch talk about revenues, and Sara Blakely talk about the scale pillar and really how she scaled. So we're halfway there. So I'm going to talk about products for a quick second. Here's what I'm going to do. Yesterday I told you the 17 products that you can create. Does everybody remember that? Backstage, do you remember that? And I said this week I'm going to bring you 7 to 8 speakers that are going to talk about 7 or 8 different products. Angelique Ruers is going to talk about consulting tomorrow. Russ Ruffino talked about group coaching yesterday. Well, today Pete's talking about a digital product. When you create a digital product, it's the most scalable product that you can have in your ecosystem. And last year, in 1 hour and 17 minutes, I mapped out, shot the videos, built the worksheets, and created a course in 1 hour and 17 minutes. But yet so many of you have talked about creating something like that, but you get in your own way. And if you don't have products and services, it's hard to serve the world with your message after they've heard you talk about it. Zig Ziglar says, put something in their hands that allows them to continue to have you in their ear. And a digital course is one of the fastest ways to do that. And so this is the process I'm going to take you through. I love this quote. Hal Elrod, I'm going to cover it up. Don't let anybody see it. Actually, I'm going to cover it up. Sorry. Let's get me just straight on if we can. Hal Elrod had a book, and he didn't have a product yet. And I said, Hal, you've got to have a product because not everybody's going to buy a book. Not everybody wants to read a book. Lots of people like digital courses because they can have lifetime access to it. They can go consume it online. They can do it while they're running. They can do it everywhere. And I know you can do the same with the book, but digital courses go deeper. They give you more. They help you get things done. Why don't you have one for your audience? And Hal said, all right. And this is his quote. He said, I was told for 5 years that I needed to create a digital course. Advance your reach. Help me create it in 1 day. And that digital course now not only sells over 100 courses every single month, it's impacting people every single day. And he doesn't have to be there. The course was shot once in my studio. He doesn't have to go reshoot it. I have sold tens of thousands of digital courses, and I only had to shoot all of them one time. The problem why people take years to shoot it is because they take forever to try to create the mega, massive, awesome course. And I'm going to give you the framework of how you can create a mini course and sell it for $47 or $97 or $197. I'm going to give you the simple framework that we went through with Hal in 1 day. Does that sound good? Does that sound good? And my intention is that you go get a course created in a week. Who, either yes or no, who has a course that you've sold? Who actually has a finished product course? Who has it? Yes or no? No, 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 no. Okay. So I'm going to do this quickly because we got 3 powerhouses behind me. The cool thing is I've created maybe 10 courses in my life. I don't know, I'm guessing. Those 10 courses have sold tens of thousands of courses. How many times did I have to shoot the course? Write it in the chat. Write it on Facebook. Write it on Instagram. For all of you watching on Stormy's page and Gloria's page and Dan's pages and all of the pages that are out there, here in a little bit, you're going to want to be at platformcommunity.com, which is our Facebook group. If you want to watch Sara Blakely today, she's going to bring the noise at the end of the day today. You're going to have to be within our groups and our community. It's one time that we're doing that because I respect this billionaire powerhouse. Like, just have utmost respect for her. This is Jesse Itzler's wife. So make sure that you're there. But I want to make sure right now that, so a lot of you are saying no. Here is the simplistic way to get a course done quickly. Number 1, what is your process that has helped you get the results that you've gotten in whatever area of life that you've wanted to get? What's that process? I want you to think about it in 3 to 5 steps. Just 3 to 5 steps. I'll come back to this in a minute. This is how we shot Hal's course. And real talk, I did this part with him in less than an hour. The second thing that you want to do is then outline your content. I'm going to show you, outline your content. And I call that your modules and your worksheets. You want to build a platform? You think my platform of these 10,000 plus digital courses, do you think that people's lives have been impacted by those 10,000 courses? Yes or no? If they consumed it, 100%, heck yes. That's building a platform. And the third thing is you've got to shoot and package the course. This is the framework to getting a course done in a week. In a week. So watch this. Let me take you through these 3 steps really quickly. Really quickly. If you will do this, you can shoot it on your own. Really quickly. Process. What's the process? So let's pretend you're in the health, wealth, or relationship space. What I want you to get clear on, and when I say health, it could be spiritual health, it could be emotional health, it could be mental health, it could be physical health, it could be food, it could be exercise. So let's just pretend these are what you have unique experience around or unique expertise around. My question to you are, I'm going to have you pick not 3 to 5. What are the 3 big reasons that have allowed you through your life experiences to get the results and overcome the better health, the better wealth, the better relationships? Let's just pretend I said it was, getting financial literacy from mentors. And then it was starting to understand the importance of assets over liabilities. I'm just doing something. And then it was, my investment, to sound cute, my investment percentage rule. And let's just say those were the 3. You can go fill these in. And if you're like, I got 5, it's okay if you get 5. The first step, all of you could be doing this while I'm doing it, is figuring out the process that helped you get the results. Done. I just did that. Now we've got to outline the content. And so all I'm going to do is come down here and say, okay, I want to talk a little bit about these 5 points around my financial mentors. And I want to talk about these 4 points around the importance of assets. And I want to talk about my investment rule, and here are my talking points around my investment rule. So I've now outlined this video, and this video with my talking points. For those of you that need to write it out, write it out. For those of you that just need talking points, you could have talking points. Don't overthink it. And then out of this, I'm going to create one worksheet. And out of these talking points in this module, I'm going to create one worksheet. And out of these talking points, I'm going to create one worksheet. I'm going to map out my worksheet based on what I'm teaching so people can go fill in the blank. People love notes and worksheets because it helps them feel complete. I've just mapped out my content. Now, literally, I did it in front of you. And then the last thing I'm going to do, I did this all, meaning I didn't just map it out. I finished it in 1 hour and 17 minutes. My camera crew caught me mapping it out, shooting the videos, shooting the modules. In 1 hour and 17 minutes, I finished it from start to scratch. Like it was done, ready to sell in the market. Pretty crazy. You know what? Who wants that? Who wants that 1 hour and 17 minute behind the scenes of how I did that? Anybody want that? Yeah, let's figure that out here in a minute. So we just did that. That's done. Now the last thing is shoot and package the course. So this is what I'm going to do. This course, just like Hal's course, is going to have an intro. And the intro is just going to be 3 or 4 minutes talking about what we're going to cover in this course. 3 to 4 minutes. Then, module 1 will be this. And I like to keep things 10 to 15 minutes, maybe 20. Module 2 will be this, 10 to 15 minutes. Module 3 will be this for 10 to 15 minutes. And then we will have a closing session that's 5 minutes. And in your closing session, you can also make a call to action to get on a phone call with you to talk about more on how you can help them in the wealth. Remember Russ Ruffino's high ticket offers yesterday? That could be the next step in the process. You just created a 5-module course in front of you. Now, how do you package it? This is it, and I'm going to be done. How do you package it? How do you package it? You package it, you can shoot it on Zoom or Loom. I use Zoom or Loom. It's my camera on my computer. I am technically challenged, and it's very easy. Very easy. and then you can put it in a spreadsheet. I know that's not behind a paid wall, but my course I put in a spreadsheet. Or you can put it behind a membership site like Thinkific. That's where we keep our stuff. All of you that will be getting the recordings, we just upload it to Thinkific. You could get that course done in the next week. That is the framework. And last thing here, and thank you guys for being patient. Last thing here, right here, that is the framework. That's the framework right there. That's the framework we use to create Hal's course that has now had a big impact on people's lives. So this is what I want to do, because we got our next speaker on deck right here. Really quickly, as a reminder, 100% of the profits are going back to charity. 100% of the profits going back to charity. 100%. And I want to, let me get past this really quickly. On November 12th is when we're going to cut all of the checks for charity at our Platform Live event. Our speakers have included $25,000 worth of packages into, they've included $25,000 worth of their digital courses inside one of 3 levels. One of 3 levels. And here's what I want to say before we go to the next speaker. We got a bronze, we got a silver, and we've got a gold package. And if you go to platformtourcares.com, this is $25,000 worth of digital resources, some recorded, or in some cases like Jesse Itzler and Dan Fleischman, they're going to do a live training for you. And the speakers are leaving this up until Wednesday of next week. They're donating their courses because they're on board with the goal of $1 million. And so here we go. Here's the actual payment plans of them. We've got 1 pays, we've got 2 pays. And for any of you that are taking action, this is what I want to do today. Look at the retail value of that. This is what I'm doing. For any of the packages, bronze, silver, and gold, I am not only going to build your course in a week, which we have sold hundreds, maybe thousands of these for $297. We've sold hundreds, if not thousands, of this course for $297. I'm not only going to put that in there. Team, please make a note of this. I'm going to show you the behind the scenes of when I built the course in 1 hour, 17 minutes, and 17 seconds. That's no joke. That's how long it took me to finish it from start to scratch. I believe if you will watch this, which you can consume in an hour, and watch that, which you can consume in an hour, you will have your course built. All week long, I'm going to continue to bring you surprise and delights like this all week long. So make sure you go to platformtourcares.com, platformtourcares.com, and I am stoked because I got a legend in the house today. This guy had a big idea with shooting a daily podcast. And I asked him today to come, and I said, JLD, would you come and help people understand the importance of not only building their own podcast, but taking and being on other people's podcasts as well? And I'm stoked today to have my good friend, JLD, up in the house. Will y'all give it up for John Lee Dumas? I'm going to turn it right over to him, Platform Tour.
Love it, Pete. Thank you for that unbelievable introduction. And I'm fired up coming at you guys live from Puerto Rico. So bummer we couldn't do this in person as we were initially planning on doing, but better virtual than nothing for sure. And man, this lineup has been spectacular. I have a very short amount of time with you, so I really do want to dive in. I'm going to set my timer here to make sure I stay on path. But basically, I want to give you just a real quick rundown of what I'm going to talk about, which is what Pete mentions, which is how you can get on podcast stages, how you can leverage what I call OPP, other people's podcasts, and of course, other people's platforms as well. And for me, you know, my journey to create my own platform, Entrepreneurs on Fire, started back in 2012 with just an idea. I launched that podcast with one episode a day, and I have not missed a day since 2012. It's been quite a journey, and I have well over 3,000 episodes to date right now, over 100 million listens of the podcast total, over 1 million monthly listens of the podcast, and it just keeps growing. I've been able to have people like Pete Vargas on multiple times, people like Tony Robbins, Barbara Corcoran, Tim Ferriss, Gary Vaynerchuk. It's been an absolute blast. And I'm here to talk to you today about that power of the podcast, that power of getting on other people's platforms. And I'm not only going to give you a specific strategy that I've used time and time again to continue to grow my platform, but I'm going to walk you through it visually. I'm going to share my screen coming up here in a couple of minutes, and I'm literally going to take you through the step-by-step process that it takes to get on other people's podcasts and platforms, if it's not for them podcast specific, in a very effective and consistent way. Back in March of 2021, so earlier this year, I launched my very first book. And I knew that to get the book out to the world, I was going to have to get on other people's stages, other people's platforms. And for me specifically, because of what I've done over the years, other people's podcasts. So I sat down, I devised a strategy, the one that I'm going to share with you right now, on how to get on 343 platforms in 75 days. Now, most of those, over 300 of those, were podcasts. The other 45 or so were whatever that specific person's best platform was. Maybe for somebody, it was Instagram Live or Facebook Live or fill in the blank. But for the most part, for me, because of what I've built and the relationships I've built over the years, I knew that a long form 20 to 30 minute podcast episode was going to be the absolute best way that I was going to be able to market my book that came out March 23rd. And when I started January 4th marketing it, again, 75 days, 343 other platforms I was able to get on. When the book hits the shelves, we did 30,000 book sales the first week. That is 3 times the number of your average New York Times bestselling book. Not the average one, the number one New York Times bestselling book does about 9,000-10,000 in a week. We did 24,000 day one, over 30,000 week one, all because I was on so many platforms across the board that first week of launching. And whatever it is you're going to do, Pete just talked about creating a product. I've done this exact same thing for past products that I've created. If it's going to be a service, a community, coaching, a book, it doesn't matter what it is that you're going to be promoting. What matters is how are you structuring and how are you getting on other people's platforms. And one thing that I want to share before I actually go into this screen share and do the step-by-step walkthrough, and oh, by the way, a little further tease, I'm literally going to give you the perfect pitch. Now, get ready with your phones. You probably are going to want to screenshot it because it's going to be kind of quick. I will read through it, but I'm sure Pete's team will be taking it down and giving it to you afterwards as well. I'm not trying to skip through that part, but I will be going fast through it because I only have so much time. But I literally, with Entrepreneurs on Fire, get over, and I mean over 400 podcast pitches every single month. 99.7% of them are terrible. And I don't just mean bad. They are terrible. 0.3 are just okay. And 0% are great. I mean, I have like literally gotten like one good pitch in 10 years of Entrepreneurs on Fire. So guess what? I knew what I would want as a pitch as somebody who has one of the top ranked and listened to business podcasts in the world. So I sat down, I created the perfect pitch. I used it in this system that I'm about to share with you right now. And I was able to book all of those stages in 75 days. I'm going to give you that exact word for word script, which of course I encourage you to take, to personalize it for make it your own personality, language, style, etc. But then use it because if you use this pitch, you are absolutely going to open the eyes of people who are sick and tired of getting boilerplate, crappy pitches across the board. End of story. Okay. The last thing I want to mention before we dive into this is my phrase, batching like a baller. Now, a lot of people may say, well, John, I don't have time to like do 343 podcast episodes, you know, as a guest in 75 days. And number one, I'd be like, well, what else are you doing with your time? Because if you really believe in that product, that service, that coaching, that mastermind, that book, whatever that might be, your schedule's open and you are doing nothing but promoting that thing. And that was what I was doing for those 2.5 months. So like, first off, you're really going to want to go big with something, clear that calendar, make sure you have that cleared. I mean, for me, this was a 2-year process between signing the deal with HarperCollins Leadership and launching the book. You better believe I could cut out 2.5 months of white space 2 years in the future. So, I mean, this is a thing where you have to have forward thinking and forward planning. And then what I do going forward to continue to make sure that I build my brand, Entrepreneurs on Fire, I continue to promote my book that I launched in March, is what? I do 20 podcast episodes every single month. I call it batching like a baller. Now, do I do 20 episodes per month on other shows, 1 per day? So I wake up every day like, oh, I have one 25-minute episode today. No, I do 15 minutes back-to-back episodes 1 day per month. 1 day per month. I have 20 podcast episodes on other shows that I have booked on one single day. And again, I use the method that I'm going to be sharing with you here today, step by step by step, so that I'm continuing to be able to talk about my brand, Entrepreneurs on Fire, to talk about my book, get my voice, my message, my mission out to the world, continue to stay relevant. And why do I choose podcasts, by the way, as my means, my platform to actually continue to show up on and to share on? Because of one simple reason. Podcast listeners listen to podcasts. One more time. Podcast listeners listen to podcasts. So when I'm on a podcast that has 10 listeners or 10,000 listeners, every single one of them has the app on their phone. Okay. They have already carved out time in the day to listen to a podcast because they're listening to one at that moment. It's part of their actual day-to-day. I call it converting the converted. So many people spend so much time, energy, and effort trying to convert the unconvertible, like people that don't even want to be converted. Podcasts aren't for everybody. They're not going to be part of everybody's day, but for those people that listen to podcasts, they're the converted. And I can easily convert them by sharing great value on their podcast, on these 15-minute spots that I'm doing 1 day per month, batching like a baller. I heard the previous guest share that she works an average of 12 days per month. I'm actually down for Entrepreneurs on Fire. I'm actually down to 5 days per month for this part of my business. I've recently launched a secondary thing called NFTs on Fire because I'm really getting into the crypto and NFT space. So that's the second podcast that I have that I'm really excited about. So I'm working on that, having fun, and it's a blast. But 5 days per month, I've gotten this down to because I batch like a baller. Tomorrow, I have 8 interviews for Entrepreneurs on Fire, back to back to back. 8 interviews. I only do that 3 times a month maximum. Then I had that 1 day per month that I'm doing other shows. Then I have 1 day per month where it's just like calls with my team and all these other things that I'm doing. Again, all stacked and all batched. Then the other 25-ish days per month, it's not Entrepreneurs on Fire. It's other things that I'm working on. Now, that did not come overnight. I'm in year 10 of my business. I built a team. I built systems, tools. Years 1 to 5 was a lot of work, a lot of hard work. But I want to be clear that I got here with those systems, with those tools, with those automations, with building the right team. So how can you, with whatever mission, message, with whatever course, product, coaching that you want, how can you get on multiple other podcasts on a very consistent basis? You've got to put in the work. I'm going to give you a step-by-step system right now that's going to allow you to put in the work, get out the perfect pitch to the right people, and then you're going to win. So I was assured I would be able to share my screen here. So let me make sure I can do that. And I'm going to click share right now. And you should be seeing my screen right now. So hopefully you're seeing my screen. I'm actually seeing it on one of these side screens here. So I'm assuming it's working correctly. But here I wanted to take you to Apple Podcasts. Here we are on Apple Podcasts right now. And we are here just on the normal browse page. Now, what I want you to do when you're going through this process and you're like, okay, I absolutely want to become a guest on other people's podcasts because I know that I have that voice message, that mission. I've got something to share. This is the process you're going to do. You're going to click on this button right here called Top Charts in the left-hand corner over here. When you click on Top Charts, you're then going to scroll over and you're going to choose whatever category makes the most sense to you. So you can see these categories all here. What category are you in? Like what actual industry niche makes most sense to you? For me, it's business. So I'm going to keep it on business here. And then I'm going to click this button right here that says See All. And now you're going to see it's going to pop up with the top 200 podcasts. You can see right here, number 1, number 2, number 3. What you're then going to do, and I recommend having a Google Doc for this or whatever you may like to do as far as keeping track of things. You're going to go through these podcasts and you're going to see the ones that actually interview people. Which ones interview people? So you're going to be scrolling down. You're going to be opening them up. You're going to see which ones actually interview people. And just for time purposes, I'm just going to go ahead to my friend Jenna Kuchar's podcast, The Gold Digger, and I'll open that up and I'm looking at her and boom, she has her trailer here. She's got some conversations here. And I know that she does interview people occasionally on the show because I've looked at it. I've seen what she does. I'm looking at her last 10 episodes here. I'm going to actually listen to at least 1 or 2 of these podcast episodes. And that's the reason why is going to come later, but it should be obvious that if you're going to be on a podcast, you should be doing your research anyways. So I'm going to listen to a couple of these podcast episodes. Then I'm going to go down and I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to go all the way down to show website right here. And I'm going to click on the Gold Digger podcast website. It's going to take me to Jenna's website now. When I'm here, I'm then going to go over into the menu. And again, this is going to be different on every website, but it's essentially the exact same process. You know, you guys know how to find the contact page. And there it is right there, contact, boom. And then right here, you're going to fill in the perfect pitch, the perfect pitch. So here it is. I'm actually going to go back here and I'm going to look at actually Jenna's podcast right now for this perfect pitch coming up. And she talked about said getting stuck in a content creation rut. Okay, I'm going to remember that now. And I'm going to go back to the perfect pitch email that I have set up for you guys right here. So this is where you are happy to take pictures if you would like. Again, I'm sure Pete's team will get this over to you, but let's go through how exactly you're going to create this perfect pitch email. So you're going to say, hello, Jenna. I want to reach out and introduce myself. My name is Lee Dumas, and I host the podcast Entrepreneurs on Fire. I'm very impressed with your show. I specifically enjoyed podcast 523, where you talked and you shared incredible value about getting out of a content creation rut. I did notice you haven't talked about, and I'll just talk about a topic that I'm interested in right now, NFTs recently, non-fungible tokens. And I happen to be an expert on this topic. Here's actually some past interviews that I've done. I'll link those up. And oh, by the way, NFTs on Fire is a podcast that I do about NFTs. So you can tell I'm probably pretty knowledgeable about this topic. And I would love to come on your show and share my knowledge with your amazing audience. As a fellow podcaster, I know coming up with a title and interview flow can be time consuming. So here's a sample title: how to find your first NFT project. And here's 4 to 6 bullet points we could use for the interview flow. And here's where I'd go through 4 to 6 bullet points. I won't go through them now because time. Also, I also know the importance of sharing this interview when it goes live. So if you are kind enough to select me, you can count on me sharing your podcast with my entire audience when this interview is published. And then you're going to include this next part, only if it applies. Also, I believe you'd be a great fit for my show, and I would love for you to come on as a guest to introduce your expertise to my audience. In fact, we could schedule an hour session and record back-to-back interviews to make it an incredibly efficient process. Here's my scheduling link if you'd like to book via that option. Alternatively, please reply with your schedule link, and I will happily find a time that works. I hope to hear from you soon. JLD. P.S. I know the importance of ratings and reviews for us podcasters, so I went ahead and gave your podcast a well-deserved 5-star review. You rock. And boom, put a screenshot there if you're able to do just that, or just copy and paste that review if you need to. So what exactly did I do here? Well, I want to go back to what I said earlier and remind everybody that's watching and listening to this. I get over 400 pitches a month. What I just shared with you is not only the best pitch that I would ever have received this past month, it's the best pitch I would ever have received in my life. And it would so stand out, it would almost make my head pop off. And this is the advantage you're going to have when you go ahead and actually do this the right way. Because there's a lot of people that are like, oh, I've reached out to people before and they never get back to me, or they do this, they do that. It's because your pitch is terrible. It's not bad. It's terrible. So what did I do here? I went through and I let her know that I listened to her podcast right here. This is a key factor in it. And then I even let her know what I liked about it. And then I told her what I can talk about that she hasn't talked about recently, because what she wants is something unique for her show. And I let her know why I was an expert in it. And then I let her know that I know it's hard coming up with a title and bullet points. So here's a sample that we could use. And of course, she could adjust it as she wants, but man, I'm making her life easy right here. And now I'm also telling her, let me, excuse me, let me promote your awesomeness to my audience. Another great thing here. And then at the last thing I'm doing here is also letting her know that I can be flexible, that she can just schedule a booking link real quick right now, or she can reply to me with her booking link and I'll make it happen on her time. And then it's so hard to get ratings and reviews. And I just went ahead and did that. This is called reciprocity. It is so incredibly important. You need to be willing and able to use reciprocity in this world. Please, my friends, this is such a key thing. So there's so many ingredients. There's like 9 ingredients in here that make this an absolutely amazing pitch. So I'm going to go ahead and click stop share right now. Just be back on video. I've got about a minute and a half left. When I get one of my 400 pitches, I'm lucky to see one, and I mean one of those like 9 or 10 ingredients that I just mentioned. If you have all 9 of those and you go through and you create a pitch for 5 or 10 podcasts every single week, before you know it, you are going to have a full schedule of podcasts that are just lined up because of the work you're putting in. Are you going to bat 100, 1,000? Absolutely not. You're not going to be 100% on these things. Nobody's 100%. But guess what? You will shoot an actually higher percentage than you could even imagine possible because you use this process. So what I want to do is just kind of go through some of the things that I talked about here today. You know, I told you a little bit about what it is to build a platform and why you should focus on getting on other people's platforms. I mean, for one, these individuals have spent so much time, energy, and effort actually creating their platform. And the fact that they're allowing you up into their world, onto their stage, is such a special thing. Don't take that for granted. I told you what I did with my book launch, and I went all in on that. We're talking 343 interviews in 75 days. I mean, just going all in is why I got the results that I got. I gave you the perfect pitch. I told you why you need to be focusing on the platforms that you want to be exploding on, because you want to be converting the converted for obvious reasons. And for me, that's podcast listeners. So I get on podcasts. And then of course I gave you that perfect pitch, and the timer's going 3, 2, 1. And I love being respectful of Pete Vargas's time and keeping everything on track and not going over. So it was a wonderful blast speaking with everybody here today. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you use it, and I'll catch you all on the flip side.
Hey, JD, quick question for you. I know you're JLD. You're going to be backstage with us. It was 300. How many podcasts were you on?
343 in 75 days.
I mean, you've got to believe that accounted for how many book sales or how many opt-ins, like just a ballpark guess. How many book sales or opt-ins came as a result of that? Just a guess.
27,500.
Did y'all hear that? He's doing the work. He's on other people's platforms, other people's podcasts, which, by the way, it takes a lot of time and energy to build. And I'm a big advocate. I'm going to be talking to JLD about my new podcast that I'm going to launch next year because I need his help. And that's what his specialty is. And you'll see that he's one of the resources in the package. 27,000 books from being on other people's podcasts. That's unreal today's homework assignment, he's going to be backstage. JLD, our homework assignment today is going to be because of you, my friend. So listen to that. I know you're going to be backstage with us, but it's going to be a pitch. People are going to be pitching themselves today in the group because of you. Guys, give it up for JLD. Give it up for JLD. Hey, listen, so here's where we're at. You will be pitching yourself to me to be on my podcast, and if any of them are unbelievable pitches, I might just send it to JLD and say, dude, this could be a good one for you. He gets 1 million+ downloads of his podcast a month, 1 million. When people are on his podcast, their business goes up. My wife loves podcasts. She doesn't have to get dressed up or fancied up. She gets to show up and speak from her heart. That's a beautiful strategy. This next guest, we got 2 more guests, and we're running just a little bit behind today, but this next guest is phenomenal. He's the only guest talking about sales. I'm sure Sara will talk a little bit about how she's pitched herself. JLD just talked about pitching yourself with the perfect pitch, and all of you are gonna do it in the Facebook group tonight. But this guy, when I heard him talk about the 3 rules of sales, he has tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of customers. You might not necessarily know him, but the dude is one of the most brilliant guys and a dear friend of mine. He is brilliant when it comes to sales, and if you can understand these 3 rules around sales, revenues for you will begin to go through the roof and explode. So I want you to welcome all platforms everywhere, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, everywhere, backstage. Welcome my buddy, Mr. Taylor Welch. Give it up for Taylor.
Oh, snap. What an intro. Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me. Guys, I am so stoked. Pete is one of my favorite people in the entire world. And I know that the same is true for you. Let's talk about sales for just a minute. I'm going to tell you a quick story just about me and my background and how I got into this game of influence, conversion, persuasion, sales, etc. I started my business in 2015, but my first client ever was in 2014. 2014, I was a wee little lad, didn't know what I was doing, and I got started in copywriting. The problem is I did not know how to take money. I did not know how to talk to people, and I was terrified of sales. So like most people, you think of the word sales and you think of the scammy used car salesman with the slicked back hair, and it's like, that's not who I want to be, right? It's not my vibe. And I remember the very first conversation I had with a potential client. His name was Gary, and I'm not making this story up. It's the honest truth. People think I'm making it up because it sounds too good to be true, but his name was Gary. And we got to the end of the call. It was a sales call. And I was explaining to him how I could help him and change his life and do all of the things that I was passionate about doing, right? And we get to the end of the call and he says, sounds great, sign me up. And I said, cool, I'll call you tomorrow. He's like, why are you going to call me tomorrow? I'm ready to go right now. Let's rock and roll. I said, you know what? It's fine. I will call you tomorrow. No big deal. Like, let's just talk tomorrow. And Gary was an intuitive individual, and he could tell that I didn't know what I was doing. And it turns out Gary was a sales trainer, and he said, is this your first time taking money from a client? I was like, you know, those moments in your life where you're like, do I choose honesty here, or do I like ruin this wonderful opportunity? Do I ruin it by being honest? And I chose honesty, and I said, yeah, it is my first time. I don't actually know how to take your money. If you learn anything today, learn this, that you don't necessarily have to be a natural to make a great living and to master this idea of salesmanship. You don't have to be born with it. You don't have to have the personality for it. You don't have to necessarily be outgoing or naturally persuasive, because I didn't start with an inclination towards sales. And as the story exposes quite well, I actually was horrible at sales when I got started. And Gary walked me through, this is so embarrassing, but he walked me through how to take a payment over PayPal for the very first time. This is in 2014. I said, Gary, thank you so much. Would you be able to teach me how to do this for other people? And he said, yes, I will teach you. And we developed a relationship, and I got pretty good at this art and science of persuasive salesmanship and being able to influence people on the phone. So I want to take you into what I have kind of created as a bit of intellectual property. I want to change your life a little bit today, because at the end of the day, you can have the most amazing product ever. You can have the most amazing calling ever. You can have the most amazing gift ever. But if you do not learn how to actually get that gift into people's lives, most oftentimes in an exchange for money, then your gift will not be as impactful as it could have been. And sales is a great gift. Sales is a wonderful instrument to be able to take the great things you can do for other people and actually maximize that impact. So if you're taking notes, hopefully you're taking notes. If you're not, grab something to take notes with, because I'm going to go through these quickly and I'm going to end this. I have a giant timer on my screen. I'm going to end it on time. I promised Pete that I would end on time, so that's what I'm going to do. 3 rules of sales. I'm going to take you through them. We're going to talk about them real quick. Rule number 1. This applies to every industry, every type of transaction, every country, every culture. This is a human nature thing. It's not an industry specific thing. Rule number 1 is the only job, write that down. The only job, write it down. It's as important for you to like print down into memory. The only job that you have is to help the person make the best decision for them. The only job you have is to help the person make the best decision for them. Some of you, the reason that you're so freaked out by this idea of sales is because you're actually coming at the call transactionally. Your job, the job you've given yourself is to convert them into a client and to grab money. It's going to stress you out. It's going to make you nervous. It's going to make you feel sleazy. Your only job in this situation is to help the person on the other end of the phone make the best decision for them. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2, what's best for that person will usually be outside of their comfort zone. What's best for them will be outside of their comfort zone. Write it down. And then rule number 3, the person on the other end will fight like hell to stay inside of their comfort zone. And boom, here we go. Here's the dichotomy. Here's the thing that I love about this game is if it were easy, everybody would be doing it. It's not that at the end of the day, what we're doing is we're helping a person gather the necessary details, gather the necessary information, gather the necessary perspectives. Come on, most of the time when we're actually in this game of high persuasive environments where we're trying to really show somebody what their life could be, it's not a necessary issue of resources, it's an issue of perspective. Your job is not to really convince someone to do anything that they don't necessarily want to do. Your job is to figure out what is it that you want, and let's go ahead and go to battle to get that thing. Rule number 1, your job is to help them make the best decision for them. Rule number 2, what's best for them will almost always be outside of their comfort zone. And rule number 3, typically the person on the other end will fight to stay inside of their comfort zone. And here's what it comes down to. You have to grasp this as a leader, as a thinker, as a producer, as a guide, as a shepherd, as a mentor, whatever it is that you're doing, is that you have to, your job is not to cater to the current version of an individual. Your job is not to cater to the current version of the individual. Your job is not to make them happy. Your job is not necessarily to make them comfortable. Your job is to help shift their perspective in a way that's meaningful, in a way that's respectful, but at the end of the day, in a way that serves the future desired version of the individual. So I remember one time I was on a call. This was early on in my career, and we were talking through this person's situation. And we were able to uncover some things that he wanted to be different in his life. And he told me the future that he desired. And he wanted to be a good dad, and he wanted to be able to spend time with his kids. But the reality is the current version of his life did not actually suit the ideal outcome that he was after. And he was in this position where he was in a current version, a current reality, but he wanted to be in a future reality. And we got to the end of the call and I said, okay, that sounds good. I think that we can do this. I know exactly what needs to happen. Like we can take you through this process and we can get you to the other side. And he began to make decisions from a place of fear. This is another thing to be aware of. We could go all day on this, but I've got 6 minutes and hopefully we can figure out how to get me backstage at a certain point. But you always know that a person's crossing into danger territory when they begin to make decisions from a place of fear rather than a place of vision. That goes for you as well. This is applicable to all humans everywhere. You always know that a person's headed into a danger zone when they begin to make decisions from a place of fear rather than a place of vision. And this is why I love sales so much. I'm about to tell you. Sales is one of the only modalities that we possess as humans that can pick someone up and lift them up from a decision-making of fear and put them into a decision-making territory where they're making a decision based on vision. So here's another principle that you can write down. Because we know that people will fight to stay inside of their comfort zone, and because we know that the thing that they often need to do is outside of their comfort zone, we also know this, that there will be a wrestle on every conversation where you have to help someone escape the current identity that they're living and thinking from and get into the future identity from which they need to make decisions. Now, I've been in calls before. We have teams, we have 60 salespeople, and we have all of these different brands now. And I don't take sales calls anymore, and I don't do much anymore, but sometimes I miss it because there's nothing quite like being on a call with somebody and really going to I will go to the gates of hell with you to help break you out of your current rut and your current state. But keep in mind that when you're in that position at the end of a call and it feels like there's a little bit of, a little bit of a wrestle, it's an indication that you are partnering with the correct version of the human. It's an indication that you're partnering with the future version of the person you're talking to, which is going to bring a little bit of a rub, right, to the current version. Because the reality is, if somebody was already that future version, if they were already making decisions from a place they wanted to get to, if they were already there, they wouldn't be on the call with you and they wouldn't need you. Some of you are like the last line of defense from a person actually getting to their end goal and preventing them from a life of obscurity and a life of underperformance. Like some of us, we have to do a better job of making sure that we don't get weirded out by the sales process, because when you get that way, what it shows is that you're more interested in how you feel than you are in the outcome of the other person that needs you to be on the call with them. Notice it's not a weird thing. Notice that it's not like a sleazy thing, but I'm very aware that sometimes when we get on these calls, we're talking to people and they're like, I don't know. My current version is a little scared of that. The current version of me, the current identity that I'm operating in is a little bit scared of that. And what we do is we tend to retreat from that. We're like, I don't want to mess up. I don't want to challenge this. And I'm here to tell you that, that's actually the most selfish thing that you could do for that human being. People are like, I just don't want to push them into a situation they want to be in. No, that's not true. You're more worried about what they think about you than you are the outcome that they get from exposure to you on the call. Not coming after you, just challenging you a little bit. We got to get past ourselves a little bit. And when you can get past yourself and realize that you have been strategically placed in the world to make a difference, to lift the tide of the people around you, and to partner with the versions of people who desperately need what you can provide, you have an obligation, a moral obligation, to help disconnect them from their current fears and plug them into the future state of who they're supposed to be. So rule number one, let's go through it real quick. Pete, you can come back on when I'm done. Rule number one, your job is to help the person make the best decision for them. That's it. That should relieve the pressure. There's no pressure here anymore. It's to help the person make the best decision. Rule number two is what's best for that person will most often be outside of their comfort zone. And rule number three is the person will fight to stay inside of their comfort zone. And that's totally okay, because you have an obligation not to get weird and mean, but to help people wrestle through that insecurity so that they can make it out to the other side. That's all I got for you today.
Dude, Taylor, I'm sitting here saying, come on, yes, amen. I'm literally sitting here hoping that my mic's not on, Guys, did you get those 3 rules? Jennifer Hall, did you get those 3 rules? Dwayne, like drop some freaking effing fire in the chat. Because here's the deal. You guys don't hear me say that often. And I want to see Taylor on my screen behind me. Listen, this is a guy who you might not know, but he doesn't have to be known. He was a pastor, like me, a pastor. And his company is on pace. This is a big deal. Not many people cross this threshold. Our next guest, very few cross that threshold, but their company is on pace to do $100 million. And if it doesn't happen this year, it'll happen next year because I know what he's doing in the world. Because he is consumed about the outcome of the client and getting them out of their comfort zone. Taylor, I could take that talk on the road all day long, bro. When you talk to me about NFTs, I'm not as smart as you with NFTs. You and JLD need the jam. He's starting NFT on fire, I guess. But dude, that talk is unbelievable. I have to have you. Backstagers, do we want him backstage sometime this week? Look at that, Taylor. Look at that. Like, I have to, so I'm going to text you when we get off. We're here till Monday, Taylor, so I have to have you backstage because if people can wrap their minds around this, bro, revenues won't be that'll never be an issue.
Right.
Can we do that? Can I figure it out how to get you backstage? I know you have obligations today.
I think we can make it happen. You're pretty persuasive yourself. You know the 3 rules really well.
Well, I want them to get the outcome that you figured out. So, guys, this is one of my favorite people, a friend of mine. I'd go to battle for him any single day. Will y'all give it up for Taylor Welch? Will y'all give it up for Taylor Welch? Yes. Dude, that talk fires me up because it's about the outcome. It's about the result. It's about solving a problem. For all of you, we're about to stop the stream outside of our private groups. If you want to hear a person who solved a big problem in our world, you better go to platformcommunity.com to join us in the Facebook group because this person solved a problem that's become a $1 billion problem-solving idea with a few $1,000s. I was with my daughter yesterday. She's 11. And they said, how did the interview go with Floyd? I was like, great. And my daughter's like, who are you interviewing tomorrow? The founder of Spanx, Sara Blakely. She goes, really? Spanx? I'm like, my daughter knows Spanx? Like, she's 11. She's 11. There isn't an intro that really I can do outside of that. She's one of very few people to create a self-made $1 billion female entrepreneur. I don't know how many there are, but there's not a lot. And her heart and her story and what she saw as a little girl has come to pass and true today. And I think she's only getting started.